Right, folks. I am feeling great. We got some good stories to cover for you guys today. It's not all doom and gloom out there. Whales are accumulating. Tom Lee continues to accumulate Ethereum. Yes, sell in May and go away may have been correct, but we're going to see how the rest of June plays out. Before we get to all those stories, Nick, I want to hear how your weekend was, my good friend.
Yeah, pretty good weekend. It actually is all kind of blurring together. I don't even know what I did this weekend. We had a golf tournament on Friday, a non-for-profit event for the church, so we did do that. That's why I wasn't on the live show on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday were kind of a blur. Did stuff with Luca. Did a little biking, mowed the lawn. Nothing too exciting, And Bitcoin and ETH kind of doing their thing. Ethereum in our last live show had that bullish divergence. It rallied 5% off that low, leading into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It looked like a green weekend. And then, of course, we wake up this past couple days and we're having some FUD. We're having some war FUD, some MicroStrategy FUD, and they are giving up the gains. I'm sure we'll look at the charts here in a second.
Yeah, it's a good weekend to touch grass, I'd say. Good weekend. Maybe a good summer to touch grass. I mean, you have to remember that Bitcoin, for the most part, I think 80% of the time is either sideways or down. And then you have those explosive moves up. You have the bullish periods. You want to be in the market for those times. But otherwise, it's usually a snooze fest or down. I mean, look at today. You get a little bit of FUD. Michael Saylor sold, I don't know, 100 million, which is a pittance. That's nothing for his
Nothing,
total
no,
bag.
way less. Yeah, way less than
Couple
that.
bitcoins, and here we go. And then of course the Iran war, FUD, and oil spiking doesn't help. But why don't we start there, because that was the big news of the day.
Yeah, I mean, here it is. MicroStrategy Strategy Inc. sells Bitcoin, raises $128 million. Strategy sold 32 Bitcoin last week for 2.5 million and raised 128.3 million via share issuance. The company holds 843,706 Bitcoin with a 75,699 average purchase price. It also confirmed preferred dividend payments and maintains a 900 million US dollar reserve with 26.1 billion capacity remaining under its stock program. Now, why are they selling? Are they selling just a tiny bit of Bitcoin to test the waters? Or did they just fall 2.5 million short of their capital raise for the share issuance in order to pay the dividends? Nobody really knows. I mean, yes, it sucks that they did hit the sell button. That there is FUD going on, and it's not good timing too because there's more Iran FUD with oil prices rising, and that's why you're seeing Bitcoin going down, Ethereum getting rejected at the overhead resistance. But I don't think it's the end of the world. If they're 2.5 million short in the capital they were able to raise while Bitcoin is sitting here at 75K, they sold a little bit of Bitcoin, but they actually made $2,000 per Bitcoin for shareholders as well on that trade, with average price of 75,699, and they sold it at 77,200. So not a bad trade either. I don't see this as the end of the world, but I guess for the fudsters, for the bears, are saying, look, this is proof of concept that MicroStrategy will and can sell Bitcoin, and we have not seen them buy it back yet.
Well, that's the key, right? Whether and when they end up buying it, and they're going to buy more Bitcoin. That's a foregone conclusion. When do they buy the Bitcoin? And then does this become sort of part of an ongoing strategy of theirs, an ongoing sort of means of capital accumulation and disbursements to investors? I do not think it's the end of the world whatsoever. This is actually the second time they've sold Bitcoin. People don't remember this, but in the early days of strategy, so here's the news for you guys. They sold Bitcoin back when it was at 16,000, and they promptly bought back at a little bit of a higher price, mind you, like a few days later. So is this going to end up being the same thing? I think it's going to end. This is going to be kind of a non-story because they're going to end up buying more Bitcoin, and I think they're going to sell strategically at times. He pretty much opened the door to that a few weeks ago. But as long as that keeps the machine going, allows them to accumulate more over time, it's really not a bad thing.
Yeah, that is the biggest news. Is this isn't the first time. This is creating a lot of FUD. Oh my gosh, this is proof that MicroStrategy will sell, can sell. We knew that back in December of 2022. Like you said, they sold 704 Bitcoin at the exact low. So is Michael Saylor very good at buying tops? He's also proven to sell lows. The only time he ever sold it was the low. Is he selling a low right here, right now? Also, he sold 704 Bitcoin at that price, and then he bought back 810 Bitcoin at a higher price. That's what I'm hoping to see. Hey, we sold 35 Bitcoin because we needed 2.5 million extra dollars for dividends. Okay, Stretch goes on some volatility run here, and then we end up buying back 300 Bitcoin. That's what you want to see, buying back more Bitcoin than they're selling and doing it promptly. And if they can get it at a lower price, that even helps shareholders as well, because now you can talk about the trade aspect of where they saved $2,000 per Bitcoin if they bought it back here at 75K. But I think we're actually even lower than 75K right now. Let's see what's going on. $71,500 for Bitcoin. Big red. You got the Michael Saylor FUD causing a part of this downturn. We also have some Iran news. I know you're trying to figure out what's going on over there causing the downturn. And the Iran news is really a proxy of what is oil price. Yes, oil is less than $94, which a couple weeks ago would have been like, holy cow, less than 94. But in the grand scheme of things, we're at $86 going into the weekend, looking like it was inevitable to go down to the next targets of $76 and even $70 per barrel. And then, what do you know, more bombs, something happened, and we have rallied from $86 a barrel to $94 a barrel. I still believe that this is going to meander, break the neckline, and head to these lower levels, which obviously fuels Ethereum, fuels Bitcoin, fuels the stock market. But these blips, when you see these rallies like this out of nowhere, that creates even more pressure on Bitcoin. And right now, Bitcoin does have the Michael Saylor and strategy FUD as well.
Not a great day for our risk assets. I'm curious how the S&P is looking. I think a little red on the day as well. Of course, that's been on an absolute tear over the past month, so that it can afford to be a little bit down. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is already, the most undervalued of the major assets, so not great to see it at 71. But I always go back to this. I mean, what is your time horizon on these things? My time horizon on Bitcoin, I've already been holding it for damn near 10 years. I'm not going to sell now. Just keep holding it. I don't need the money. So you just keep holding, scarce, finite assets that you believe have upside and you have conviction on. It's worked out for many people over the years. It's going to continue to work out. Stock market looking actually still pretty damn strong, despite everything.
Red, but not
really
much
crazy
slight.
Performance.
Yeah, very slight red in the stock market, even though you have more Iran FUD, oil prices rising a little bit, and gold prices rise as well. S&P 500 doesn't care, sitting right at what was our price target for the end of the year. People thought we were crazy calling for a rally of almost 20% off this V-shaped recovery by the end of the year, and here we are sitting at it just 6 months later.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, the performance since the, a March crash, our peak Iran war FUD, and this uptrend has been tremendous. I wonder when it stalls out. This rally is eventually going to stall out. Nothing goes up forever, right? So my theory, my working theory is Bitcoin, ETH, they've been showing signs of weakness. Even gold has as well. A lot of capital now rotating into the stock market. Eventually that's going to cool off, and we'll see where capital wants to rotate next. Hopefully into our beloved cryptos. But I mean, it's been a hell of a ride for us that hold stocks. We talked about it, I think, on the last show, though. A great year on stocks is like 10 or 15%. Everyone's going ape shit. I mean, this rally is a 20% rally, which is great. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. I hope people bought the lows and they're riding it. But for Bitcoin and Ethereum, a 20% year is nothing. We can have 20% months, 60% months occasionally, right? So I don't know, you have to have some perspective with these things. It feels good that your stock portfolio's doing well, but you ain't seen nothing until you've been in a Bitcoin and Ethereum run.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about last Thursday when we were live. It's like pure euphoria on S&P, or everybody talking about it at least. I think it can still go more parabolic. I think it can still go higher because we've talked about all the reasons. It's based in the dollar, which is getting debased all the time. You have 2 weeks automatic buys from all the Americans who have salary-paying jobs, automatically putting more money into these indices. But when you put in perspective, this 20% rally that everybody's talking about, holy cow, that's literally Ethereum going from right here $2,000 to $2,400. That's the same amount of gains. And we were just there 2 weeks ago. We were near $3,000 ETH just a month ago. So it doesn't take much to get the same returns. And we still believe that Ethereum at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 is greatly undervalued compared to the other valuations we're seeing across all stock indices, gold, oil, et cetera, et cetera.
For me, I'm happy to be diversified, but at the end of the day, I think you're gonna look back in, 4 or 5 years from now and go, oh wow, Ethereum and Bitcoin did outperform everything else. But you have to deal with years, months of downtrend and FUD and uncertainty, and that's kind of what we're in now. You see a lot of FUD across socials about Ethereum, of course Bitcoin now with Saylor selling. You just kind of have to have that conviction, folks. Deal with the volatility, hold through the shit, know that it's going to get better.
We got Wyckoff Stock Market Institute in the house. Smash the likes. Louis Lullaby, Miko Chapo. Good morning, guys. And AJ West hitting the good morning as well. These guys, the thick and the thin, tuning in not only Crypto Paradise, but just the crypto markets in general. We have seen across the board, especially here in Crypto Paradise, Learn Crypto, Rand Nooner, doesn't miss Team Crypto, doesn't matter. Viewership is down, and really that is a proxy of A, prices of crypto assets, so interest goes down. B, the amount of retail that's actually in the market, because the institutional players usually aren't watching the likes of us losers and degenerates. They're looking at their algorithms and they're in their office and talking with all their other, white collar workers. What do you think is going to happen here? Do you think that's ever going to change, or is it really just a proxy of price? Need price in order for viewership, retail investors, and hype to come back in. It seems like it's really as simple as that.
It is as simple as that. If you overlay the chart, Bitcoin searches for, or excuse me, Google searches for Bitcoin, and you overlay that with the chart, and you'll see just a direct correlation between those two things. Obviously, when price is down, it's not as interesting. There's not money to be made. Eyeballs aren't there. They're doing other things. They're touching grass. They're with their friends, their family. They're working. Who knows? Maybe they're trading Pokemon cards. But when price starts to rally, the attention comes back, and it's just a part of the cycle, guys. This is why I call this a cycle. To me, where we're most likely at is not the start of a bearish period. We're either at the end of it or we're halfway through. Worst case scenario, I think this thing ends in October when all the 4-year cyclists decide, okay, now it's time to ape back in. There's a chance that, who knows, in a couple weeks from now, war's over and we'll see a rally well before October. But we're certainly not just at the start of a bear market. We've been in this for a while. And of course, viewership is down, sentiment's down. But I never made money buying at the top of a bull. I'll tell you that much.
That is very, very true. So let's look at the Ethereum chart. We were talking about it here. Let's see. This is it. This is the bullish divergence we were showing you on Thursday. After the bullish divergence, after the live show, we did rally up to about 5% and got rejected twice right at this vaunted white line. Why is this white line important? We've had this thing on here for like a year now, ever since this inverse head and shoulders, saying it's going to be a critical level for the movement forward of Ethereum. And what do you know? It was a magnet, and we've just been floating around it, bouncing off it, getting rejected off it over and over again. So a short-relieved bullish divergence gave you 5% gains, got rejected. But now we put in a new lower low compared to over here, and yet the RSI is higher once again. That would be yet another bullish divergence forming. So what happens? Do we have any sustainable rally? I don't know. I don't know what it takes to get a sustainable rally anymore. I haven't kind of capitulated myself on how do we get sustainable rallies in crypto. I think a big proxy of it really is just the war that is going on and whether liquidity is available, whether the liquidity comes from the Fed cutting interest rates, whether liquidity comes from stimulus or regulatory guidance that comes out of the U.S. government, reducing of taxes, capital gains, whatever it might be, or if it's as simple as just, clear picture of what's going on globally and it's the war ending. What do you think it's going to take for any kind of liquidity to come back into place? Or is it really everything we've been talking about for this past 6 months? Just none of those things have fully happened yet. We still don't have Clarity Act. We don't have war ending. We haven't had the stimulus. There's rumors of no capital gains on house sales or Bitcoin, but it hasn't happened yet. Do you think that's what we need? And do you think it's going to happen by the end of the year leading into midterms?
I think one of two things can cause the price to rally. Of course, you get a big news story breaking. Iran war is over. Negotiations are done. Here's the peace deal. Okay, you'll see markets rally in that scenario and oil prices fall. But absent that, this market is controlled in large part by market makers and whales. And so you could easily envision a scenario where whales start bidding up the price, they stop selling, market makers also start buying, they stop selling, and you could see a big run just based simply on sort of the backs of the whales and a bit of manipulation. So this could play out one or two ways, or it could, of course, it could go lower. I don't know. I'm part of me thinks that we're eventually going to rally here in June, but in all likelihood, we're going to need some sort of catalyst for it to be a sustained sort of move higher. Otherwise, you're just playing whale games at that point.
Did we finish? I think just slightly red, a couple percent red for May. Just a couple percent? I don't know what the final tick was yesterday when we closed out the month.
I believe so. That would have been, I think, been 3 months red in a row for Ethereum, which is not a common occurrence. At some point, you're going to have to expect a bounce here. Otherwise, hell, the 4-year cycles will have been right. And it's sell in May, go away, and come back in September or October.
That would be like, what, 40K Bitcoin that they want? What does that mean for Ethereum? Everybody always talks about what the Bitcoin target is, 40 grand. 35 to 45 grand is what bears think, and they think it's happening in October. What would Ethereum price be if Bitcoin got halved?
Well,
Ethereum
yeah,
get
yeah,
halved and go
you're
below
right, but
$1,000 or what?
here's what I come back to in terms of you're thinking about what price we may end up at. In a bull run, the price never gets as high as the bulls thinks it's going to get. And in a bear market, the price never gets as low as the bears think it's going to get. And so 60K to me was still the bottom. I don't think we break that. That would take a major, major capitulation. I don't see that happening. But we could well just sort of range, not a lot of upside, a little bit of downside, kind of just ranging here. Bearish sentiment overall, kind of fearful for another couple months without it breaking down below 60. That could well happen. So then you would live in a world where 4-year cyclists were kind of right, were mostly right, but it didn't get their target, but it was a bear market in 26. So we'll have to see, man. I mean, when was it that it must have been 2 summers ago? Because last summer I think things were looking pretty good, but 2 summers ago, market was pretty damn bearish, and it was just sideways. I think Germany was selling. Was that when Germany was selling at one point in June or July? And then we had to wait until I believe it was like October, and the markets went crazy when Trump got elected. So who knows, man? We could be playing that scenario out again. Summer's usually pretty sideways or down, though.
One guy who's still bullish is Bitmine and Thomas Lee. Bitmine, a weekly update. Tom Lee and Bitmine just added another 26,497 ETH in 1 week. Their updated holdings is 203 Bitcoin. People forget they have Bitcoin on the books. Still have $446 million in cash. Over 10.85 billion worth of ETH at current price. 93 million stake in 8Co or the Orbs altcoin. 180 million stake in Beast Industries. We talked about that briefly. Nobody really talked about it, and everybody's forgot about it. That is a big investment if Beast creates any kind of crypto-related product. They said they're working on an application. That would be pretty nice for Bitmine holders. Bitmine now owns 4.49% of the total ETH supply. That's 90% of the way to its 5% target. On Thursday, after the big buy, we were wondering what are they going to do when and if they hit the 5% target, because it is coming very quickly. And here's the math. They only have 10% of the way to go to their target compared to what they've already bought. And with the Ethereum prices so low, it doesn't take very much in order to achieve that 5% target.
Yeah, we'll see if they get the rest of the way there this summer. I mean, he seems to have no inclination of slowing down the buys, which if you think about it, right, he's doing like the inverse Saylor. Saylor loved buying the tops. He was buying the tops, and now he's selling the lows. Not the best investment strategy, guys. Tom Lee, on the other hand, I mean, he's all in on the lows here. Unless ETH ends up being a total failure, in which case the crypto industry as a whole has become a total failure. 50% of the transactions in this industry run on the Ethereum network, guys. So unless crypto as a whole is a complete and utter failure, you'd have to expect that he'll be vindicated at some point. If ETH simply gets back to $4,000, he'll have done 100% gain. His $10 billion bag will be worth $20 billion. It's going to happen, guys. So, I mean, you can hate on him all you want. Oh, you're such an idiot. I can't believe how big he's down. Ha, ha, ha. Look at he's down to $8 billion or whatever. Trust me, guys. Give it enough time. He will be up, and he'll be up bigger than everybody else.
And that's the very reason I've turned back on the dollar cost averaging on Coinbase for the first time in years, buying a little bit every single week, because I think anything at these price valuations, I guess we could go, if the bears are right and we wait till October, maybe Ethereum is $900. That would suck. But dollar cost averaging anywhere between here, $1,800 to $2,400, I think is a blessing. Been doing it now for a month after turn back on the Coinbase DCA. Don't have a lot of liquid capital, don't have a lot of excess capital right now to put into the markets. So a little bit at a time to try to build up that Ethereum bag over on Coinbase. And let's see if we can get that working, get some passive income from Coinbase as well on the journey to ETH hitting 5 figures.
Yeah, man. I mean, unless you've given up on the industry as a whole and you just think that, the crypto experiment's done, All the attention's going to AI. Crypto's never coming back. Unless you think that eventually Ethereum will at least reclaim its previous all-time high. I think it's going to go far higher. But you'd have to imagine it's at least going to go back to 4,000, 5,000 would be its actually previous all-time high, 4,900. That seems like an inevitability. In which case you're up huge on this trade. So hang in there, man. I'm proud you're DCAing ETH. Maybe a better move, though, would be to follow Roan's path here. The Tom Lee of Mello. Just keep accumulating. Life-changing money incoming. Yeah, man. We've been following the progress on Mello pretty closely. I'm in the whale group over there. You got to hold 200,000 Mello to be a part of that group, which is like a couple $100 at these prices. But Phil, the founder of Mello, has been absolutely cooking with the trading platform he's built. The results have been extremely promising as far as I can see. I would love to get some tweets going out there from Mello because we can cover a tweet. It's a little bit hard for us to not, you know what I mean? Like, I guess we can take screenshots of what's being talked about in a Telegram group. I'd much prefer some tweets. So if anyone out there wants to kind of take up the mantle of being the tweeter-in-chief over for the Mello team, I think you should go ahead and do that. But yeah, Phil's been cooking. He's built a trading platform using Claude and all these other AI tools. The early results have been extremely promising. They are going to unveil that soon, but the price has rallied pretty nicely. Maybe you can pull up the Mello chart, Nick, because I think it's rallied like 100% or more in the past month or so.
I'll have to look for it here. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm still holding a massive bag of Mello. I just never sold it. It just, to me, sometimes when you're talking about memes, high conviction plays, low caps, it's moon or dust. It's moon or dust. But at one point, my Mello bag was worth like 6 figures. I did sell some of it, but barely any. And now, of course, it's down like 90%. But it's moon or dust for me, guys.
Yeah, those are the type of opportunities we were finding a lot during the mini bull cycles of this last bull rally. Even though Ethereum wasn't going, there wasn't a massive alt season, we were able to find some gems, work with the team, give some opportunities, and make some gains. And hopefully people did take some profits on those, get your initials out, get some profits. It still sucks because, like you said, yeah, I probably had $100 grand worth of Mello after only putting in maybe $500 or $1,000. And now, what's left in my wallet is just dust. I might have took out my initials and probably rolled it into something else. Paid a car payment. Who knows? But that's the nature of the game here in crypto. But the survivors will survive, and you can see here on Mello, rallying nicely off the lows since February. Still only 138K market cap, but looks like the insiders and the whales are trying to accumulate with the little bit of dry powder that they have over there. And we just need more liquidity to come into the market so we can start talking about altcoins again. Talking about altcoins before we pivot. Here's Mello on Ethereum. We think that altcoins on Ethereum will be the early beneficiaries. It's kind of the way of the markets. Bitcoin runs, that runs into Ethereum. Ethereum runs, that runs into ETH alts, and then that rolls into other layer 1s, layer 2s that are garnishing hype. So that's why we think Mello could be early on the curve if and when Ethereum does reverse higher here. But talking about other altcoins, here is Gold Pulse. We talked about how Gold Pulse was turning off June 1st. Well, today is June 1st and it has turned off, but there is a bit of a twist. I don't know. These guys are trying to scheme even more. If you remember, Gold Pulse did launch their own Go token. A lot of people avoided it. We avoided it. We like looking at it for the data, but we didn't like the investment aspect of the Go token. We avoided it, and good thing because it's going down and to the right. But now there's a chance that you can use Go. This is going to keep ticking lower until somebody decides to go to the burn address, send this amount of Go to the burn address, and you actually gain ownership of goldpulse.com. I don't know what kind of fuckery they're doing, what kind of scam they're running, what they got going on here. A final push to burn a ton of the Go tokens to get a pump for exit liquidity. Who knows? Or some kind of master plan to get all the attention on GoPost, get everybody to tweet about it like I did, and then they're just going to buy it back themselves, burn some Go for the ultra cheap, and pretend like nothing happened. I don't know what the plan is here, but if you are a Pulse Chain guy, goldpulse.com is one that we used on our show just to look a quick snapshot of price performance of the top assets. And now they look like they're going to turn off, or maybe they're going to turn on, maybe they're going to burn Go. I don't know what's going on. Always something going on with these guys over here on Pulse Chain.
I'd stay away from this. I don't know if I trust this whatsoever. Even if it's accurate and true, so what? At some point, you own Gold Pulse, which is a business which doesn't make enough money to survive any kind of bear market, probably has no means of generating revenue, and you're just stuck with server costs and running the site and running the community. No thanks, dude. We're not in CTO season. We're not in CTO season taking over stuff. So, good luck if you participating in this. I don't know what you're thinking. I would rather you see you sell your Go if there's any liquidity left on that, in the pools, and use it to buy Mellow. I think that's a better move.
That's probably better move. And if you want to stay on Pulse Chain, go buy Surf, go buy
There you
PTGC,
go.
go buy PLSX. I
There
think
you
you'll
go.
do better that way. It is not CTO season, but it is IPO season. The biggest IPO in history is a liquidity trap. SpaceX is going public at $1.75 trillion valuation, bigger than Microsoft. And it's doing that while losing $4.28 billion in a single quarter. Insiders hold 95% of the shares, and only 5% goes to the public. A float that thin lets price run artificially. Most of the market's liquidity is about to rush into SpaceX, which means the S&P 500 will start dumping hard. Turn on your notifications. I'll update you before the dump. Now, I don't know if I agree with all this, but I do believe that everybody is going to chase this IPO. It's way overvalued for what they're producing as far as revenue and profits. Now, if you're looking at a go-forward basis, SpaceX is doing more than NASA. So not saying they're not doing good things, but is that always profitable? Probably not. This has this token economics of, what was the name of that altcoin that just ran to oblivion to like $16 and then just fell off a cliff? This does have the token economics of a lot of those altcoins that get listed on major centralized exchanges, where it's a very low float and it goes up, it goes up, it goes up until insiders decide to dump. And the reason that hurts the overall markets, hurts crypto markets, this will help hurt the stock market, is because the 5% get fat and wealthy, but the 95% are caught holding the bag, and all that liquidity they had in various other stock indices or BMNR or GameStop or whatever went into SpaceX and then got liquidated out, and now they don't have that capital to rotate into the favorite meme coins anymore. So what do you think is going to happen with this? Do you think there's full truth to this story here? And this is happening on June 12th, so less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, the quote insiders are locked up for periods of time. They will not have access to all their shares immediately. There's different milestones that the company needs to reach for shares to get unlocked and periods of time that need to happen. So it's not as if it's going to be just a massive, coordinated sell like you see on those like scam Binance listings, right? It's not going to be quite like that. The one thing that I am dismayed about, though, is apparently NASDAQ loosen the rules around this listing such that passive incomes, or sort of like passive investors, people who are just putting their, bi-weekly contribution into their 401k or whatever, they will now be investing into SpaceX because it's going to be like one of the top most valued companies, right? So a portion of your 401k investment is going to go in there every couple of weeks. And I don't know, man, if it's justified to have these sort of valuations. So I do worry a bit what could happen with this. I'm not going to buy any SpaceX at the launch. I guess there are going to be plenty of people that do, though, because it's a lot of hype around it, and people are thinking, hell, well, is this like Tesla 2.0? If I put $1,000 in a Tesla at the IPO, it's worth $1 million now. I don't think so, guys, because the valuation's way too big.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Lately, IPOs have not been the friend of the average investor, as far as dating back to a couple cycles ago when you had the Coinbase IPO, still hasn't achieved those price performances. Snap IPO, and there's other IPOs that were in that general area. And when it comes at market tops, so when it comes at either when the crypto market is topping and it's crypto related, or when the tech market is topping, like we're kind of seeing now, all new all-time highs. Not to say the top is in, but your very high valuations, very high IPO costs, very low floats. Usually those don't go in the way of the average Joe like you that can be buying. Now, maybe you can buy on opening day, and if you have a quick trigger, maybe sell it for 20-25% gains, and boom, that's a year's worth of returns in a week or two. But again, you got to have the conviction and the ability to buy early and sell even earlier. I don't like that. I'm not going to chase this. We'll keep an eye on it for you guys, but I do not believe it's going to cause a catastrophic crash in S&P 500. Do I think it will take up liquidity from other stocks? Yes. Do I think it will take up liquidity from the AI trade? Yes. Do I think it will take up the liquidity from some of the meme coins and meme stocks? Yes, because that's kind of where Elon is, and people might chase this. But I don't think it's going to do what this guy is saying, where it's going to take us from 7,600 down to 4,000. But when liquidity is already thin in the markets we want them to be in, liquidity is already thin on crypto-related stocks, liquidity is already thin on meme coin-related stocks, you can bet your bottom dollar some of those people that watch this show will probably liquidate those positions and try to chase the SpaceX IPO. And if they end up losing, that thin liquidity just became thinner for all of us.
Yeah, but the notion that this one IPO is going to cause the stock market to lose 50% of its value is just a laughable
Yeah.
It's just a complete joke. 0% chance of that happening, guys. Will the stock market correct 10%? 15%? Maybe we get back to like where things were prior to the Iran war. We were already up 20% from that low, by the way, off the Iran war FUD. Did we get back to those levels? Okay, maybe, but for the S&P to lose 50% of its value, just enormous sums of money being essentially taken out of the market, that is just complete nonsense. So I don't know if you're long term, as I think most people are with their stock holdings. I think you just do nothing. Maybe take some profits now if you're thinking, okay, it's going to top out here pretty soon, and this was kind of the this does have a feeling like it could be a toppy moment. Fine, but it ain't going to drop 50 or 60% like that guy's saying.
Talking about dropping, here is a individual who is breaking down the math, or thinks he's breaking down the math of what's going to happen with Bitcoin. Plan B, Bitcoin closed May at $73,568. Market is 50-50 on if the February low of 60K was the bottom or the bear will continue. In my opinion, data is telling us now that we have not seen the bottom formation yet, and that there is a greater than 50% probability that we go below 60,000, below the 200 MA 61K or realized price of $53,000. Obviously, we do not want to see the 60K low get given away, because that means the bears are correct. Now, we're not that far away. We're at 71K, but that means we would need to see an 11,000 drop from current price levels. Even though now we have Adam Beck saying he's going to create his own B stretch that is going to be buying Bitcoin, the new MicroStrategy. We have Michael Saylor, who presumably is still going to be buying Bitcoin because he's talking about the stretch product. If that makes money, they're using that to buy Bitcoin. And we, of course, have all the other macros that could fall into place, whether that's the Iran war ending, whether that's interest rate cuts, whatever it may be. But I guess until any of those things fall into place, Plan B is saying greater than a 50% chance of an 11K drop below $60,000 low that was created in February.
I don't think anyone really knows. Let's just be honest about it. Like, he's saying market is 50-50. That's true. 50% of the market thinks we're going lower, 50% thinks we're going higher. Obviously, we're in the camp of it's going higher. But nobody truly knows. I mean, look, any number of things could happen. Geopolitically, from a market standpoint, manipulation standpoint, to swing this one way or another. Unless you are a short-term trader, I think you just kind of ignore the noise. But isn't Plan B or is that Plan C? There's a Plan B and there's a Plan C? Or is Plan B the guy that's like coming up, he came up with this famous, it's Plan B. It's the stock to flow guy, right? He came up with the stock to flow sort of theory around Bitcoin. Sadly, he's been off by a lot over the past year or so.
Yeah.
Because I think he was predicting like much higher Bitcoin, but not great to see him capitulate. But who knows? Maybe it's a bottom side. Even Benjamin Cowan. Look at Benjamin Cowan's comment, and he's a noted kind of bear, I would argue. And he's saying like, look, dude, nobody knows predicting short-term price, because he's been probably wrong on short-term price predictions as often he's been right. So I don't know. Have your thesis. If you're long Bitcoin, if your time horizon's long, I think you just hold here, folks.
Yeah, it would be quite lovely. You got Plan B going from the Bitcoin man to now getting a little bearish. You got an individual that was supported by Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation. He posted about selling all of his Ethereum, all of it, sold, gone at these levels. Richard Hart was trolling him a bit because Richard Hart's like, hey, you won't give me any support, and I'm building to help Ethereum and own $1 billion worth of Ethereum. You supported this guy, now he just sold all of his ETH on your head. You got goalposts closing up shop today. Could be a capitulation indicators are all over this market. And maybe that's because it's well-deserved and liquidity isn't coming back anytime soon. Or maybe it's because, well, the low is in. Michael Saylor even sold. The last time he sold was the exact low. Maybe the low is closer than we think. The low is in and we continue to grind higher. At the end of the day, we're at 71,000 Bitcoin. The low in February is 60,000. Still up $11,000. We've hit as high as that $83,000 mark, which we knew was a sell zone. 83 to 85 was a sell zone marked on the chart for months. We just barely got into it, and that's why we weren't all that excited to sell everything up there, right? But ever since that 83K was touched, we are now down to 71,000 on the back of Michael Saylor selling yesterday. on the back of oil prices rising and on the back of this Iranian war peace deal, another one. Imagine that not working out.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like filtering out that Iran war news. Trump put out a post earlier like, stop interfering, stop speculating, stop like pushing your agenda. Let me just do my thing and negotiate. Like, okay, all right. It's not as if he's listening to the tweets and the naysayers anyway, or even the Hawks. He's not listening to the Hawks either. He's trying to cut a deal. So we're going to let that thing play out. But you know what always happens with the market? It tricks you into thinking it's definitely going to continue in the direction that it's going. It's definitely going to keep going lower now. I mean, we've been bearish for like a month. We've been selling down from 83 to 71. Like, it's definitely going lower. Conversely, when it's pumping, you're like, dude, it's going 100K. We pumped up for a month. It's going 100K now. The market just does the opposite of what you think. So, yeah, there's a pretty damn good chance that we bounce here. Pretty damn good chance as soon as everyone's piling in all those shorts and thinking they can make money short in the market. And then the market makers and the whales go, whoop, never mind, going back up.
Yeah, oil drops from 94 back to 89, and that'll help the market here. We'll see. I expect oil, it rallied. We'll show this one more time just because we've been on point with what we're seeing with oil here. And let's see if this is indicative of the ETH price and the war itself. Came all the way down to 86. We are rallying on the news of Iran really going on again to 94. I would expect us to reject somewhere up here around $97 to $98 per barrel. Come up here, put more pressure on stocks, put more pressure on Bitcoin for a couple dollars higher, maybe a couple more days. We get rejected at $98 a barrel, right when CNN and everybody's saying, oh my God, oil prices are high, gas sucks, Trump's fault, Orange Man bad. We hit 98. We get rejected there, and we start meandering back down, inevitably to drop to this line once again and break down lower. So we'll see how that plays out. Thomas Lee talking about how Ethereum has really been the inverse of oil. We did kind of see that. You know, Ethereum was back into the high 2000s as oil was dropping down, and then the first day that oil is having a rally here, Bitcoin, Ethereum seeing red across the board.
Yeah, so looks like the peace discussions are on pause. Iran saying, okay, we're not going to discuss peace as long as Israel's doing some sort of military, attacks in
How do you
Lebanon.
stop?
I mean, it's just a mess. So,
how do you stop Israel fuckery? Like, it does seem like, obviously, Iran is the much worse party in all of this, much worse globally, whatever it may be. But it does seem, whenever there's a peace deal trying whatever, Israel's always, like, trying to get their one more jab out. Like, how do you stop Israel fuckery? Is there anything that Trump or America can do or should do? Does America ever threaten Israel and tell Netanyahu to fuck off? Do we need new leadership there as well? I don't know. But it does seem like whenever it's close that Israel does, poke the bear, whether it's poking Iran or poking Trump with more information to keep things going.
Yeah, I would assume that Trump kind of has a finger on the pulse of what's going on and can basically tell Netanyahu to cut the shit if and when he needs that to happen. So I kind of trust Trump to have a bit of a leash there. I don't know. I think a lot of what's put out in the media from both sides, from the U.S. side and Iran side, like, we're not negotiating. Like, there's a pretty good chance they're still negotiating behind the scenes, right? And so, to me, it's like Israel's been conducting a war against Lebanon. And by the way, the Hezbollah terrorists have been shooting rockets in Israel. It's been going on for years now. All of a sudden, Iran's like, today is the day that we're upset about this. Like, dude, this has been going on for a year. What do you mean? What are you talking about? So my guess is there's still some negotiations happening behind the scenes, or maybe it's okay, we're gonna pull this card out and see if this helps our position if you're Iran, if this helps our negotiating position. So who knows? There's a lot, like, there is so much that we don't know, and the members of the media and pretty much everyone that's outside of like the military and the highest levels don't know exactly what's going on. That Trump's tweet, I think, kind of made a bit of sense to me, which is like, trust me, I'm working on this behind the scenes. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Just let me cook. At some point, you got to let him do, or I don't know, relocate, retire on a beach somewhere. You don't have to be an American, guys. You can actually leave the country if you're so upset about what's going on. I've been trying to leave for like a year. My wife won't let me.
This is what's going on in the Bitcoin market. Everybody's, posting about Michael Saylor's tweet back in February 2nd of 2025, never sell your Bitcoin, saying never trust your idols. This is kind of the parameter for all the bears and all the Michael Saylor haters. They're really getting upset that he sold 35 Bitcoin, which is like 0.000000037% of his total portfolio. He's only ever sold one time before, and within weeks, he actually bought back more than he sold. So again, I'm not going to persecute Michael Saylor here. Is it great that he's selling? No. But this isn't the first time he's done it. He's sold before and bought back way more, hundreds of thousands of more Bitcoin since then. Last time he sold was at the exact low, and he FOMO back in 2 weeks later. And this time around, he sold 2.5 million out of billions of dollars of holding, and it was used to pay dividends to keep shareholders happy. And if shareholders are happy on MicroStrategy and Stretch, well, there's more volatility, more income, more share buys, which does what? It buys a shit ton more Bitcoin. So, is it great? No. Am I going to persecute a quote-unquote idol like Star Platinum was talking about here? No, because the dude owns 800,000 Bitcoin. And without those 800,000 Bitcoin being held by him, well, the Bears probably would be right. We'd be at 35K Bitcoin right now.
Very true. I don't think you can judge this move based on the day of results. Judge this move in a month, 2 months, 6 months. Did this allow him essentially to, pay off his creditors and ultimately buy a bunch more Bitcoin? If he had to sell 32, by the way, I think it was only 32 Bitcoin, not 35. If he had to sell 32 Bitcoin in order to accumulate 3,000 Bitcoin, that's a good thing. That's ultimately good. And if you can keep doing that in perpetuity forever, ultimately buying more than he's selling over time, but selling at strategic moments to pay off whomever, then it's a good thing. So I just don't think you can judge this based on the day of result. Obviously, Bitcoin price down right now, but I think that's a confluence of things. Judge it in a month, judge it in 6 months, judge it in a year, and let's see where this takes us, because my guess is he's going to have accumulated far, far, far more Bitcoin than he sold off.
I would agree. Let's hopefully that he does produce some income to buy some more Bitcoin. They are sitting on cash, so they could do that whenever they want, but obviously they're trying to be smart. They have somebody in his back pocket that's like, hey, we don't need to blow all the money on Bitcoin right now. Let's try and be smart in case Bitcoin does sit down here, ranges longer than we expect. That way we can pay dividends without having to dip too much into Bitcoin, which they just had to start doing. So they're holding some cash back, they're holding some shares back, and they're hoping they don't have to sell much Bitcoin and they can do more Bitcoin buying, but do it strategically so that way they don't put the business in a bind when it comes to dividend payments.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep your creditors happy and satisfied and paid out. That will then allow more people to want to jump in. Okay, even if shit hits the fan on Bitcoin, even if things are looking rough out there, he'll actually sell some Bitcoin to take care of us. Okay, I can trust this product more. That's not a bad thing inherently. Obviously, look, him going out there previously and saying, never sell your Bitcoin. I can say never sell your Bitcoin. But I'm not like a public figure like he is, and nor do I run like an entire financially engineered ecosystem based off buying and ultimately now selling of Bitcoin. I can just buy and hold forever because I'm just a dude. He shouldn't have gone out and said never sell your Bitcoin. His message should have been, similar to what you say. We're long-term hold, we have our hodl bag, but we're going to trade some at strategic moments in time to try to increase our holdings. Should have said that. But he was out there doing his Bitcoin Jesus thing, never sell your Bitcoin.
It's hard to start going with that mantra when the first time you say that, you get all the cheers and the applause, and you're like, yes, I feel the power. That's going to be my saying. Just never sell it. Everybody will love me until you actually do sell some, and now you're creating FUD and hurting your own backs.
Well, he realized, so he slowly, I think, came to the realization that a lot of us come to, which is Bitcoin is great. It's scarce, finite, it's digital. I mean, it's a much better version of gold, but it's not yield bearing. It's very hard to build like a business around just buying Bitcoin and doing nothing else. Like, what do you mean? You're going to have to trade it. You're going to have to do something. If you want to generate yield, there's going to have to be some trading going on sometime or another, right? So he came to that realization. You want to create a financial ecosystem around this asset, there's going to have to be some selling along with the buying. Nothing wrong with it, but, never sell your Bitcoin. That's something I would say. Not someone who's trying to run like $1 trillion business on the back of Bitcoin and creating yield around Bitcoin.
Just scouring the charts here, scouring the Twitter feed to see if there's anything else we can cover. We kind of talked about some macros. We talked about alts, where Mello is going, where Gold Pulse is going, how it affects Pulse Chain. And there's a lot of capitulation signals around the Twitter sphere, that's for sure. Michael Strategy sold. A big ETH proponent who is supported by Vitalik said he sold all of his Ethereum. Richard Hart came out and trolled him, saying, "You guys didn't want to support me. I own $1 billion worth of ETH, but you support the guy who sold it all." And Thomas Lee, in the face of all this volatility, all this criticism, down $8 billion, buys more Ethereum, holds Bitcoin, holds exposure to Mr. Beast, holds exposure to Orbs. He doesn't give a shit while they're still sitting on another 500 million in cash. When will they deploy that into ETH? Does he think 1900 ETH is a low and will start buying more hundreds of millions of ETH this week? I don't know. We'll see.
Tom Lee is in a much better position than Michael Saylor for a few reasons. One, he's just been a better trader. He's bought the lows more consistently and didn't like FOMO into the tops. Although he did, I think his average buy price is like three and a half thousand. But regardless, he's been willing and able to buy the lows. But the other thing, the inherent advantage that Tom Lee has over Michael Saylor is that Ethereum is in and of itself an income-producing asset. He doesn't really need to do much other than buy and stake, right? He can buy and stake. He can be down paper on paper gains, but he can still be generating like hundreds of millions of dollars a year in ETH because of all the amount that he bought and staked. So I think Tom Lee's going to be fine. He's sitting on 500 something million still in cash. Does that get him to the 5%? We'll have to see. But I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about ETH. I'm not worried about any of it, honestly. I think if you're spending too much time on crypto Twitter, you're going to start to feel depressed, and you're going to start to feel that urge to sell, and you're going to start to feel, okay, it's going lower, and I'm panic dumping. And because, dude, the sentiment over there is bad.
Yeah, very bad.
My suggestion is just stay off of that shit.
Sentiment's so bad that it's almost not. There's interactions are almost non-existent. The sentiment's got so bad that people are switching it up. Carl Moon, one of the biggest Solana degen crypto influencers, I saw that he was working on an R&B rap album or something. That's the point of the market that we are at. People are doing different things, not because they're so wealthy, because there's literally no money in doing crypto content right now, no viewership in doing crypto content, seemingly no upside in buying crypto or holding crypto, and you're literally switching to making music or to going to do Pokemon festivals and selling Pokemon cards as a vendor, doing Pokemon content. Look, I would love to do that stuff, but I'm not going to switch it up because I do believe in crypto, and crypto has blessed me over the cycles. Obviously, we want to get blessed again, and hopefully that comes sooner rather than later.
No, you never want to fully give up and capitulate and sell everything and never come back. But if you feel like touching grass in whatever way that means for you, does that mean creating an R&B album? Carl Moon. Sure, go ahead and do it, man. Don't sell everything. Or even worse, I'm seeing a lot of guys shorting and then fudding. Like, come on. Is that why you got into Bitcoin? Is that why it was just to make money off up and down price and that's all you care about? Or was it about something more? Hopefully it was about something more. Go back to when you first learned about Bitcoin, those light bulbs went off. About decentralization and sovereignty over your money, F the banks. I mean, go back to those moments that you had in your Bitcoin journey and have some conviction. Don't be the guy shorting and fudding on X. F those guys, man.
Yeah, that's the way of the market right now. We need to get back to that market window where people are believing in something, hodling something, buying, staking, utilizing networks, and that's when price goes up. I think it'll happen. It's just, man, this has been a doldrum. We saw the market was pretty good in December. We kind of peaked out on some of our favorite assets in February, and ever since, it has not been fun. That 1010 liquidity crisis has done a lot of damage. Greenland FUD, World War III FUD, Iran FUD, no interest rate cuts have just been thing after thing after thing, slowing down progress for the crypto markets, drying up liquidity, and all of the attention is going to other things. Pokemon cards is drawing it. So this will be the reminder at the end of the show. Sell your modern Pokemon cards. Liquidity grab is going to be there. People are going to be cashing out. Those prices are already starting to go down a bit because in September, the 30th anniversary set comes out, and everybody will want to buy that, not buy the other shiny object.
Maybe it's the eternal optimist in me, but think about where we are versus where we could be around the price of Bitcoin. We're still at 71,000. It may break down lower. in the midst of all of that, in the midst of an Iran war, no interest rate cuts, didn't get the Clarity Act, Michael Saylor selling it. Think about all those bearish things that have happened over the past few months, and yet we're at 71,000 Bitcoin. 60, I believe, was the low. If we even get a sniff of close to what the prior performance has been around Bitcoin, I mean, we ran from the low of 16,000 to 126. I don't know what that is on math. Somewhat like, what is that, an 8x, 7x, something like that? Maybe you can tell me. If we even get halfway to that, we're at 180, $200,000 Bitcoin by the top of the next cycle here. So I don't know. I don't lose a heck of a lot of sleep. It could be a lot worse. Let the bears do their thing. Let the sentiment be shitty on X and just go out and touch grass if that's what you need to do.
I think that about wraps it up. The only bullish thing I can leave on is, hey, Ethereum bullish divergence played out. We got a 5% rally on Thursday. Now another bullish divergence forming on Ethereum as went to a minor new low while RSI held. Will we get back to that vaunted white line just over 2,000? Will we break it this time rather than get rejected? I sure hope so.
I think the whales will step in at some point, the market makers, just when you think it's definitely going lower. It's definitely going way, oh, we're going to hit 40,000. It's all over. Sell everything. That's when they're going to flip the script and pump it back up just to catch everyone in the wrong direction. So, I don't know. I'm not too worried. Maybe be like Roan. Life-changing money incoming. I think we'll leave it at that, folks. All right, guys. Great stuff today. We'll be back tomorrow. Until next time, we'll see you guys on the beach.